we want a National Integrity Commission, people need to elect a Labor government.
Tonight, Australia decides week one of the campaign wraps up with both Morrison and Albanese putting the political warfare on hold today. Both leaders hoping the Easter break will herald a political resurrection following what some have described as a car crash week. It's Sunday the 17th of April. You're watching 6 News, also tonight.
Easter is a time of hope. It's a time for family to come together. And for those of Christian faith, it is the most important time of the year.
The election campaigning put on pause briefly amid the Easter long weekend. The Australian Catholic Bishops' Conference president saying Easter offers hope in dark times amid the Russia-Ukraine war, flood cleanup and the ongoing COVID pandemic. And later, the end of an era. 6 News says goodbye to our Richmond studios here in Melbourne after more than 2 years of presenting bulletins, programs and everything in between. We'll let you know how this will affect our news coverage and operations going forward. Good evening, everyone. Happy Easter. Thanks for tuning in for the final ever 6 News Bulletin from our Richmond studios. Make sure you do stay tuned to see just how this will impact how we bring the news to you, as well as a look back through the archives to see how this studio has changed over the past 24 months. But first tonight, week one has wrapped up and the stage is now set for the remaining 5 weeks of the federal election campaign. Scott Morrison and Anthony Albanese both put the political warfare on hold today. Both leaders no doubt hoping that the Easter break will herald a political resurrection following what some have described as a car crash week. But as Chief Reporter Conor Alforque explains, this past week may just shape the future of the campaign.
The political posturing and mudslinging was again put on hold today, with an Easter ceasefire making for a stop-start week of campaigning. It was a critical week, with voters tending to pay more attention to the top and tail of a campaign. Week one also establishes the tone and strategy for the remaining 5. This past week, party vulnerabilities have been exposed or exemplified. In coming weeks, competing parties will continue to leverage these supposed shortcomings. For the Liberals, integrity was again called into question, with the PM appearing to abandon his 2019 election promise to establish a federal anti-corruption body, arguing that it was not in the national interest.
As I've said, I'm very critical of some of the ICACs, particularly in New South Wales, which tended to focus on trying to run one of the best premiers we've seen in our state, who came through and led Australia in New South Wales through that pandemic, and she got run off the rails by a campaign against her focusing on who her boyfriend was.
If we want a National Integrity Commission, people need to elect a Labor government.
Anthony Albanese's employment rate gaffe played into larger questions over his competence. In a separate stumble, the opposition leader claimed a $135 million plan to fund 50 urgent care homes had been costed. The Shadow Finance Minister was later forced to correct the record, saying it had not been formally costed by the Parliamentary Budget Office. Albanese was dogged by another semantic blunder after saying turning back boats means you don't need offshore detention. He was later forced to clarify that he would not shut down offshore detention, which the Greens are campaigning to abolish. The Labor leader also ruled out a royal commission into News Corp, telling Murdoch-owned masthead The Australian, "I can't see a case for any other regulation or inquiries," despite Kevin Rudd railing against the media giant in the years since his defeat at the polls. And with the very real possibility of a hung parliament, independents and minor parties are emerging as a force to be reckoned with in this election. One Nation has confirmed they will contest all 151 seats for the first time since 1998. The Greens this week put forth several progressive policies, including free university education and the billionaire's tax, which would fund free dental care. Liberal Party Vice President Tina McQueen said it was frightening to think of such policies coming to fruition. The issues and announcements of last week will literally shape the debate, with Morrison and Albanese going head-to-head for the first debate of the campaign, hosted by the Courier Mail and Sky News. The leaders will face questions from audience members in Brisbane on Wednesday, in a week that promises to be just as eventful as the last.
And every Sunday we're going to be taking a look at the candidates resigning or being disendorsed this election. So let's start right now. Christopher Wright, the Liberal candidate for Macnamara, has resigned for unknown reasons, being replaced by Colleen Harkin. Labor's Peter Sambalas, I'm completely stuffing that up, also resigned, but over Section 44 concerns regarding dual citizenship. Amelia Leonti from the Australian Progressives withdrew after the AEC's decision to deregister the party, alongside her considering it not feasible. Sean Butler from the Western Australia Party resigned as a Senate candidate over concerns about how the party was run. One Nation's Gerard Nicol withdrew and was disendorsed after comments about women from him that have been labelled repulsive. Brisbane candidate Rebecca Lloyd was also disendorsed, with the party saying she showed an unwillingness to work and follow direction from One Nation's national executive. And the UAP have topped the list so far, losing 4 candidates. Another Macnamara candidate, Jefferson Earl, was disendorsed by leader Craig Kelly over his support for Russian President Vladimir Putin. Keeping with that theme, New South Wales Senate candidate Sean Ambrose quit over to protest NATO's stance against Putin. Flinders candidate Morgan C. Jonas quit the contest to contest the New South Wales Senate as an independent, and Timothy Banfield says he was suspended after speaking to the media before resigning and claiming that the UAP operates more like a communist party in the way it controls its candidates. Of course, for dedicated, unbiased coverage of the federal election, head to our website where we've got a dedicated page set up. That website is, of course, 6newsau.com. We will be live on election night. That's Saturday, May 21, with coverage as well. And Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern on Uncensored, we will be speaking to Australian Electoral Commission spokesperson Evan Egan-Smith. You can tune in on our YouTube channel. Make sure you click all notifications so you don't miss it. To other news tonight, and today is of course Easter Sunday. While for some the day is all about chocolates, for others it takes on a deeper meaning. Both leaders have, as we mentioned earlier, taken a brief break from campaigning. Here's some of what both Scott Morrison and Anthony Albanese have said.
Easter is a time of hope. It's a time for family to come together. And for those of Christian faith, it is the most important time of the year, when we celebrate the resurrection of Christ. So this Easter, I hope you have a great time together as a family.
I wish the many Christians across Australia a happy and a holy Easter. As we mark the death and resurrection of Jesus Christ, we can take comfort in the feeling of hope inspired by the words of the gospel. He is risen.
Now, on the weekend, Australian Catholic Bishops' Conference President Mark Coleridge said that Easter fires will be lit in unusually dark times this year amid the Russia-Ukraine war, clean-up from the flood crisis and the ongoing pandemic. Pope Francis has also tasked both Ukrainian and Russian health workers with jointly bearing the cross at the Easter service in Rome's Colosseum. Meanwhile, the 91st annual Good Friday appeal raised a record-breaking $22,328,154, smashing last year's tally of $17.1 million and the previous record of $18.2 million set in 2020. Changing pace now, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky says between 2,500 and 3,000 Ukrainian forces have been killed in the Russia-Ukraine conflict so far, with a further 10,000 injured. The estimated civilian death toll is unknown, but authorities believe it to be in the tens of thousands. Meanwhile, shelling of a residential neighbourhood in northeastern Ukraine has reportedly killed 7 people, one of which was just a 7-month-old baby. The attack also saw at least 34 people injured, and police have discovered the bodies of around 900 people in the territory surrounding Kiev, with the majority of whom fatally shot, indicating that many were simply executed, according to authorities. Back home, dramatic video has captured the moment a man was saved from his car just moments before a train struck at Melbourne. Channel 9 reports the car became trapped on the tracks at Meadow Heights when the driver had a medical emergency. 2 plumbers noticed the vehicle and rushed to the occupant's rescue. Bystanders in the video can also be seen trying to flag down the train moments before impact. No one was injured. Liz Sheridan, the veteran stage and screen actress who played Jerry's mother Helen on Seinfeld, has died. Sheridan made her Broadway debut in the early 1970s before moving on to film and television from the 80s onwards, her death coming less than a fortnight after the death of another Seinfeld actor, Estelle Harris, who played George Costanza's mother, Lee Sheridan was 93. And now here's Arvin and Melly with a look what's coming up later tonight on WAMN News.
Thanks, Leo. Tonight on WAMN News, free masks to protect liberty. Top doctor backs the idea of free, high-quality masks as the McGowan government faces an $8 billion surplus. A WAMN News exclusive.
Also tonight, what can go wrong? A political analysis over Labour leader Anthony Albanese's campaign trail blunders.
Crime remains out of control in the north as regional towns cry out for a youth curfew.
The true meaning of Easter is remembered as Christians gather to celebrate their faith, and later Dr. Andrew Miller's comment. Join us tonight on the WMN News Facebook page and YouTube channel.
Hi, thanks both Arvin and Melly there. Now to tomorrow's weather forecast right across the country. Brisbane partly cloudy, 27 degrees, 24 in Sydney, heavy clouds 22 in the nation's capital Canberra, rain 17 in Melbourne, 17 as well and heavy showers in Hobart, the chance of rain 18 in Adelaide, 32 in Alice Springs, 24 and sunny in Perth, and in Darwin a warm top of 33. I want to bring in now the man who has been behind the camera the entire time we've been down here in Richmond. In both rooms we've had Ben Puglisi, my dad, as you can probably guess. Don't think we've had you on the desk for about 2 years now. Just explain to the viewers out there, what were you doing in this place before 6 News came along?
For many years I've used this as a studio, mainly for photography, occasionally doing some recording of musical instruments, but storage, but photography has primarily been the reason for the room.
Yeah, and of course, that'd be for Atelier Puglisi, your business, of course. That's atelierpuglisi.com. Are there any standout moments you've had in here the entire time? I know we've been presenting through a COVID pandemic. We've had media crews come in here. Any standout moments for you particularly?
With all the media crews, it's been a lot of fun, I've got to say. That's probably the thing we enjoy, sharing the space. But it's a very old building, and coping with some of the rain events that's happened, the weather events, there's a lot of vermin that sort of started to sneak into here, and the pigeons are starting to take over. So many a recording has been interrupted by a pigeon running through, or even a rat for that matter.
And not just that, of course, we share this with people, this entire building. So we've had drills, we've had saws, we've had people coming in here. So it's been a very, very interesting
Absolutely.
experience.
One thing about this room is that quite a lot of artists have been using some of the surrounding areas. And as you know, some of the sculptors that have been here with us and sharing the space have made for a very a lot of fun. Let's put it that way.
All right, Ben, Dad, thank you very much
for
doing this here, and of course, you'll remain behind the camera in some form or another. Let's now just take a look at how this place has developed over the past few years, from our old room to the room we're in right now.
Good evening, I'm Leonardo Puglisi. Good evening, good evening, good morning.
Good evening, good evening,
Good morning, good morning.
good evening,
Good evening, good evening, good evening.
It's Sunday the 10th of October. It's Sunday the 5th of December. It's Sunday the 3rd of April. You're watching 6 News. You're watching 6 News. You're watching 6 News.
Nothing at all. Nothing at all.
Good evening and welcome to 6 News. Country as we go to air. Overseas now, a Taiwanese man has been fined equivalent to 60,000 Australian. Let's just see if we can fix the camera there. Oh, that was awful. That was absolutely awful. You know what, we're going to take a break. Back in a moment with more on the outbreak. Tonight, Victoria declares a state of emergency as the World Health Organisation officially makes COVID-19 a global pandemic. Tonight, Victoria's COVID-19 crisis stage 3 restrictions reintroduced for Melbourne and the Mitchell Shire. Please stay safe. And Before we go tonight, a story about ourselves. From next Sunday, you'll be watching us in a bigger, better studio, but we'll still have the same great coverage of local, national and international news. Be sure to tune in. I'm Leonardo Puglisi. From all of us here in the Richmond studio, thank you for watching. Have a great night.
Well, there we go. That is just over 2 years of us being in this building here in Richmond. 2 years and a month if we want to be specific for this exact room. But if we include the old place that's been there since November 2019, around that time. I just want to thank my dad, Ben Puglisi, who you saw just moments ago, for his massive support in doing this. Him letting me be in the place where he was just taking photos for his business is incredible, and I cannot thank him enough for that. I also want to thank the crews from the media who have come here to cover 6 News and what we do, specifically David Woywood, Channel 7, Natasha Exelby at Channel 10 too, who both came here in 2020, of course, the team from the project as well, only this week in fact, so we had one final guest here. Also want to thank Darby Travis for making his effort as our oldest team member so far. That is in terms of how long he's been here, not age. Actually coming down only a couple of weeks ago, as you would have seen, to present a dual bulletin. He is in fact the only member of the team I've actually met in person. You can thank COVID-19 for that. In terms of what this means for our news coverage, well, we're going to continue, 100%. There will be no changes in terms of how much news we bring you. However, of course, while you might not think the studio matters this much, it does matter a bit to us. And it will take some time to develop into a new place if we get that. But of course, we're still going to present our Sunday bulletin every single Sunday, 8 p.m. It's been going since the very day we began. It's not going anywhere. We do need your support though. Patreon.com/6newsau. You can donate just $4 a month. You'll get exclusive benefits too, and you're helping keep us independent. And you're funding true, unbiased journalism from the team of young journalists. So again, thank you for that. And that is 6 News for this Sunday evening. You can stay up to date with the latest headlines by heading to our website, 6newsau.com, and by following us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and Lit. Just search 6 News AU to find us. I'm Leonardo Puglisi. Thanks for your company. And from the final time here in our Richmond studios, good night and goodbye.